Hey, what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. We also had an article in here about some of the best transfers still left out there. And, certainly, look, you had, we all know Tyler Buckner and Bama, but post that, you have Peyton Thorne maybe being rumored going on Auburn. We talked about Casey Thompson, Auburn the other day, but LSU's name popped up on this list, and it was in regards to Keon Coleman, who also transferred out of East Lansing. If you haven't paid attention, Mel Tucker's time at Michigan State appears to be completely imploding right now as he loses his quarterback and top receiver after spring. Brutal timing. But he's
going to be the case study for transfer portal.
Yeah. Well, and all the old sayings about, a sword cuts both ways, right? And you live by the portal, you die by the portal. He took early advantage of it. He was ahead of the curve there. He failed to prove to be able to stay ahead of the curve. And he has a style that I don't think it's great for today's players if they don't respect you, Yeah. Again, unless you either have their respect or they trust your resume, you've got the skins on the walls. You want to mother F today's players, and a lot of them are just going to kind of roll their eyes at you and then just be like, all right, I'm out later.
Yeah, and when you look at Michigan State, not to do too deep of a dive on the Spartans, but from 2010 to 2015, they averaged 11 wins per season.
Yeah, they were great.
They won a lot of games. I think they won 65 games in that stretch. And you start to ask people, okay, well, how did they do that? They're like, well, they did a really nice job of recruiting their state, but their state doesn't produce enough for that to be the end story. But they did a really nice job in Ohio. That coaching staff came from Ohio State. They had ties in Ohio. And if you didn't go to Ohio State, you went to Michigan State. And Mel Tucker's not real interested in being creative like that, apparently is the word. And think about where Mel's
What do you mean?
been.
And not want to go into Ohio?
No, he wants to have these recruiting dreams maybe of guys that he can get to come to Michigan State from everywhere. It's just not realistic. And think about where Mel Tucker's been and LSU and Georgia, all these places where he's always been able to do that.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're recruiting to. Well, you have to be creative in a place like Michigan State. Not that they can't be good, but you have to, create a pipeline, just like we talked about with Kentucky. Right, they've kind of created a Ohio pipeline because it's right there. They've also done a really nice job in the state of Michigan because Kentucky realizes, we got to be creative. We're not going to just show up with the UK polo and beat Alabama, LSU, Georgia in recruiting. And Mel Tucker hasn't given kind of over to that thinking yet when you talk to some people that cover the team. But he could do it through the portal that first year.
Yep.
Right, and so then he does a deep dive into it, and he hasn't been able to keep that pace up. And he hadn't done what he's supposed to be doing in the high school ranks. So now the roster is what, and they're 5-7 a year ago, and you're making over $9 million per year. So you're not doing it in high school or the portal.
And your starting quarterback and lead receiver just left after spring, which is about as big of a middle finger as you can give to the coach. It's not like their playing time was threatened. It's not like okay, I get Casey Thompson leaving Nebraska. As we said, he clearly lost the job to Jeff Sims, the old Georgia Tech quarterback. I get Tyler Buckner leaving Notre Dame. Sam Hartman went 13-16 and balled out in that spring game, and of course Sam Hartman's better than Tyler Buckner.
He's got a great beard.
Peyton Thorne left because he didn't like Mel Tucker. Same thing with Keon Coleman. And look, to be fair, to be clear, I don't think LSU ever wanted Mel Tucker, right? I know I talked about wanting Mel Tucker at the time, and I was infatuated with the ahead of the curve portal success that he was having.
You did a whole essay.
Yeah, I know. But I've seen some people like, man, we really dodged a bullet. Well, to dodge a bullet, you first have to face down said bullet, and I don't think LSU. You didn't go Mel Tucker 1, Brian Kelly 2. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, Keon Coleman, though, the receiver, they were talking about best fits, and Clemson and LSU were the two schools mentioned. And, I don't know. I was just kind of a little taken aback. Jake, I don't know why. I mean, does LSU really need another receiver? This group seems great. And, Keon Coleman's good, but, I don't know why it would behoove him to join a wide receiver room that is so crowded already. And second, a wide receiver room where, to be fair, I believe in Jaden Daniels' step he'll take, but we don't know necessary that he'll take that step yet. Like, it feels like Clemson would make a lot more sense here as they need weapons.
Yeah, they do. More on the offensive line than in the receiver room for Clemson, but they got Garrett Riley coming over from TCU, and really LSU right now is good at that position.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Lacey, you got Neighbors, Anderson once he gets back and he's healthy. Certainly Brian Thomas is going to fit into that room. You've got young players that are freshmen. You have Hilton in that room as well. So I'm not sure why ESPN.com put Coleman as potential LSU Tiger here, and they mentioned Keyshawn in the article. Keyshawn, obviously, like his production last year, I think can be replaced with the guys already on the roster.
Yeah, that's how you knew it was a bit of a service all. And look, I get it, man. They got to write about all these teams. But yeah, they were like, with the absence of with the departure of Keyshawn Booty, it's like, well, Keyshawn wasn't even close to being the leading receiver last year. So I wouldn't expect Coleman to go to LSU.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, some of the names still are currently left in the transfer portal. I wouldn't think anybody at that position, maybe Cameron Johnson from Houston, who is in the portal. He's an offensive lineman, but I think his landing spot's going to be Colorado. So,
Colorado's got some good players going both.
If that you talk about case study, that's going to be the one.
Yes.
Now, that's a whole subject and segment in its own, but. If LSU does a dive into the portal, I think it's going to be offensive line and safety. It's not going to be at a place like receiver.
Yeah, I agree. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.